How do I install a 64-bit Windows 7 on a MacBook Pro without bootcamp? Is it possible to install Windows 7, 64-bit, on a Mac Pro without bootcamp? I don't need macOS at all and just want to install Windows 7. Edit: yes, it seems possible, see answer, but I would strongly recommend to follow Dedib's advice on this matter.
This is for Vista, but the same rules should apply to 7. This URL.
If I were you, I won't bother installing Windows without bootcamp, since it is painfully unnecessary if you do so. You'll be losing something like 1 hour and 10 GB of hard disk space if you install, restore, OS X and install bootcamp, but you'll save lots of time since bootcamp will do the EFI booting configuring, partitions creating and shrinking, providing Mac hardware drivers etc.
I did it following the Vista instructions that Joseph posted above. It will work, but here are a few things I wish someone would have told me. The big gotcha: no XP mode. If you want to use XP mode with Windows 7, you have to enable your hardware virtualization in the BIOS. But Macs don't have BIOSes, so you'll have no way to do this after you install. Forum rumor has it that if you boot first to OS X and then reboot into Windows 7 that OS X will start it for you and then you can use XP mode. Of course, you need bootcamp to be able to boot both of these. Maybe you could install OS X to another HD or something. You can use Lite instead, but I installed iTunes on that and it just crashed without running. Had similar experiences with Adobe on Parallels in OS X. There's some general issues with booting Macs that most users probably know already, but I did not. Do the disk util thing the way the Vista instructions describe. When you reboot with your Windows 7 CD, it will do some initial install things and then reboot your computer. You have to hold down the Alt key when it's rebooting and then select the hard drive to boot from, otherwise you will be stuck with a white/gray screen. When you are done with the install, reboot and hold down Alt and then Control-click the Windows 7 drive to make it the default boot volume and you don't have to hold Alt down anymore on restart. As others have said, it's probably best to just use bootcamp and set Windows as the default. Unless you're putting everything on one big RAID volume and booting straight from that, OS X isn't really hurting anything except a few megs off your boot volume, but that's not typically a problem. I didn't install any drivers from the disk and didn't have any problems.
Install Windows 7, put the OS disk in, and rather than letting it auto-run, open the disk manually and select Setup. The compatibility checks bootcamp seems to run appear to be bypassed this way. It worked for me on my mad science rig Abby, but she was dual booting Ubuntu 10.x64 and Windows 7 64 with grub EFI and 64, so that may have made a difference. MacBook Pro 2, 1.
Select optional versus necessary.